Oh, turn your eyes upon Jesus.
Hi friends, I'm Samara. Today we are on our third lesson about virtues. Virtues are these character traits, these morally excellent character traits that will help us succeed in life. And today's virtue is responsibility. I'm sure you've heard that word before. Maybe you like that word, maybe you don't like that word. But we're going to talk about some different aspects of responsibility today. Responsibility is being able to answer for your actions, being accountable for your actions, or being accountable for what is given to you. Now, my dad drilled it into my head growing up that you are responsible to maintain what you obtain. That means that whatever is given to me or whatever I purchase, I am responsible to take really good care of it. My dad told me that so many times growing up. When I bought a new car, you are responsible for this. When I bought my first house, you are responsible for this. When you just try to figure out what to do with the $10 that grandma gave you, you're responsible for it. Now, a couple winters ago, we had a really heavy snowstorm and it was still snowing, but I looked out my window and there were some neighbor boys shoveling my driveway. And I thought, well, that's never happened before. So I went out and I talked to them and I said, what are you doing? They said, we're bored. We're just going around shoveling snow. I was like, that's awesome. Thank you. So I came back in the house, I found some cash, and I went back out and I gave them each some money. And after they got done with the driveway, I looked out the window and I saw that cash flying away in the wind. And so I ran out and I grabbed it and I thought, oh, they let this cash fly away. See, maybe it was an accident. Maybe they really didn't mean to let the cash fly away. But those boys were given something. I gave them money, and they needed to have the responsibility to get that money securely in their pockets so it didn't blow away. Now, I did find them later and make sure they got the money. But still, whatever's given to you, you are responsible for. How many of you know the story or the account of Abraham from the Bible? Abraham was a very wealthy man. The Bible said he was extremely rich. He had flocks and flocks of animals. He had lots of servants. He had a lot of wealth from conquering other men, other leaders of countries. And Abraham, maybe you don't know this, Abraham had 8 sons. First he had Ishmael, then he had Isaac, who was the son that God promised him with his wife Sarah. But then Sarah died and Abraham got married again and he had 6 more sons. So he has 8 sons, and towards the end of Abraham's life, he's about ready to die. He entrusted one son, Isaac, with all of his wealth. Now the Bible says he did give gifts to his other sons, but Isaac was the one who would be responsible for managing Abraham's great wealth. That's a big responsibility. Isaac was given a lot, and Isaac managed it very well. He took responsibility. Isaac would plant crops, and God would bless him so much that the crops would just bring a huge harvest. The Bible says in Genesis 26 that Isaac got more and more rich day by day. He accumulated so many flocks. His crops were so successful that he just kept taking up more and more land. And the Philistines who lived near him got really jealous of him and said, you got to move away. You're taking all our land. You're just taking up too much space. And they were even so mad that they went and they threw all of their garbage into these wells that Isaac's dad Abraham had dug. So Isaac did move away. He found some better land where he could spread out, and he went and he actually redug all those wells that his father had dug. He found places to spread out, and that his family, his flocks, everything could just continue to grow and grow and grow. He was responsible. He managed that wealth very well. And if we look at responsibility, it's being able to give an answer for your actions. I think if someone were to ask Isaac, how did you manage this? I think he would be able to say, I was very responsible. I took care of what my dad gave me, and I made it grow even more. And another thing about responsibility is it does not blame anybody else. Isaac didn't point his finger of blame at the Philistines and say, oh, but they sabotaged the wells. No, he just took responsibility. He went and redug the wells. He was responsible. Now let's take this idea of responsibility one step further. We can be responsible for things that are given to us, and we can also look for opportunities to be more responsible. This is a really neat story. This is a story that I heard from a man named Andy Andrews about his friend who had a sod company. He grew grass, and he sold that grass to other people. So many, many years ago, down in the city of Miami, they were getting ready for the Super Bowl, the biggest football game of the year. Well, Miami had had so much rain, so much heavy rain, that they looked at the sod on the football field and they noticed that it was rotten underneath and it was coming out in clumps. Well, you can't play the Super Bowl game on that kind of grass. So it was 5 days till the Super Bowl, and the NFL said, we've got to put new turf, new sod on this football field. And they started taking bids from people along the eastern side of our country. Well, this was in Florida, and this man from Alabama heard about this, and he said, I got to get my name in the drawing for this job. This is a big job. And so he did. He contacted the NFL. They contacted him. They called him. They asked him a lot of questions about the sod. How long does it take to take root, and how many inches tall will it be in 5 days? And they had lots and lots of questions. And finally they said, sir, if you're picked for this job, how soon can you start? Remember, they're in Miami, Florida. He's in Alabama. And they said, how soon can you start? And he said, in about an hour. And they said, oh, sir, I don't think you understand. We are going to be deciding later today who gets this job. And once we decide, then we want to know how soon can you start? And he said, well, in about an hour. They said, sir, I don't understand. And the man with the sod company said, well, when I heard that you needed sod, I immediately packed up my semis and sent them to you, and they're sitting in your parking lot ready to work. Well, the NFL said, we'll get right back to you. And sure enough, they gave him the job. He laid the sod for the Super Bowl game. And what an awesome story. When they're done with the game, they actually give the sod back to the owner, and he was able to go put it on a local field of a local high school. So those high school boys get to play on grass that the Super Bowl was played on. That's pretty awesome. Now that's a way of taking responsibility one step further and actually looking for more responsibility. Responsibility is not a bad thing. Responsibility is just being accountable for what is given to you. Working hard, it's going to take hard work, but God says that He equips us to do every good work, and we can also look for ways to be responsible. We can look for ways to grow, look for ways to go above and beyond and help other people. That's what responsibility is about. Thanks for watching.